Okay, so let's add this all up. Let's begin with what they're saying.
Your gender identity determines your gender, period.
Okay, so they're telling us that a person's gender identity determines their gender, period. Now, how would a person go about having their legal gender changed to their gender identity?
What can I do for you today? You might not get this question often, and I don't mean to waste your time at all, but I've been a gender non-binary person for about a year now.
Sorry,
Gender non-binary.
binary.
So I use male pronouns, and among my friend groups, as Oliver can tell you, I've been identified as a male for a while. I don't always present as male, but gender is a spectrum. So, and unfortunately, right now, before Trudeau's law goes through, in order to get your identity card for when you go into bars and everything, you have to have a doctor's note to have your proper gender on there. It's going to be changing in the next 2 years, and you won't have to have a doctor's note. So I just need a doctor's note that says I'm able to get my proper gender identification.
Able to get your...
So when I go to get my driver's license, so when I go into bars and stuff, people don't misgender me. I just want to be able to have male on my gender identification on my driver's license card, but I need a doctor's note to do that. They're changing it in the next 2 years, so you don't need any sort of
So that
note.
you don't have to identify female or male.
Yeah, no. I use male pronouns along with my friends, yeah.
So that he doesn't have to identify as female on his official government documentation.
Well, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it's not like I can prove anything, right?
I'm going to pause the video there. I'd just like you to take note that the doctor has said, I can't prove anything. And she's right. She can't prove or disprove anybody's gender identity because it doesn't mean anything. A gender identity can't be proved or disproved in the same way that blah, 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 can't be proved or disproved because it doesn't even mean anything. And I'm just going to play a bit of a conversation that I had with the Australian Human Rights Commission where I got them to agree with the exact same point, that gender identity doesn't even mean anything. Let's say another person joins into the conversation right now and this person says, I have a female's gender identity. What are you and me to make of that person? What are they actually telling us? Are they conveying any information at all? Hello, are you there?
They're conveying what they choose to convey.
What does that mean?
It's not for other people to make judgments or put labels on other people. It's people's choices, how they want to express themselves and feel about themselves and how they want to live their lives. It's not for other people to have a say on that or judge that.
But I'm asking, what do they mean?
And if anything, it says something, if people do, it says something about that person's insecurities or potential, issues within that person.
If I were to tell you that I have a female gender identity, I'm a male, I've got a penis. If I was to tell you I have a female gender identity, what would that mean to you? What information would I be conveying to you?
You would be conveying that you choose to identify as a female.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
Well, that means whatever you want it to mean. It could simply mean that you.
So it's no different. It's no different than if I was to say I identify as a gobbledygook. Is there a difference between the statement I identify with a female gender or I identify as a gobbledygook? It seems they both require you to say, what the hell do you actually mean by that? You're speaking gibberish. It doesn't seem to convey any actual meaning at all.
Timothy, you're being very rude and disrespectful in terms of other people and how they wish to live their lives.
I'm asking for clarification on what is meant.
And I've given you that clarification, and it's an ambiguous...
That's not a coherent definition.
Well, maybe there is no actual definition of it, because it's ambiguous...
Why are we using words that don't have a definition?
If a word doesn't have an
Timothy,
agreed
I've
upon
given you all the
if a word
Timothy,
doesn't
I've
have
given
an
you all
agreed
the
upon meaning,
information I
then
can
it is
give
not a
you.
real word. A word needs to
Point,
have
all you
agreed
want to
upon
do is
meaning for us to have a
argue.
conversation. If I was to just start going, that means nothing to you because you don't know what it means. It might mean something to me, but it means nothing to you because we haven't agreed upon what it means. For us to have a real conversation, we need to agree on terms and their meanings. And nobody can even give a definition on what gender identity is. And you can't either, and you know it, and you're playing silly little games. So
Okay.
I ask my question one more time. If I was to inform you that I have a female gender identity, what would that mean to you?
I would say good for you. Celebrate it.
But what would it mean to you? What would we be celebrating? What would we be celebrating?
It wouldn't mean anything to me because I don't know you.
Well, that's it. That's my whole point, isn't it? It wouldn't mean anything to you. That is my whole point. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay, well you've gotten to your point. Is there anything else you need today?
That is all. You have a nice day.
All right, you too, Timothy. See ya.
Do you want me to say that you should be identified as a male?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. The letters of
Thank you so much.
the contact.
Okay, so I am in absolute shock right now. I am now medically diagnosed as a male. This is astonishing to me. I mean, it's quite clear that my hair is just up in a hat, but I guess that's all it takes to get your diagnosis. So I already have better eyesight. You know, I think I'm getting paid more. You know, I'm stronger. I feel more privileged. This is great. Being a man is great. But I need one last thing to be a real man. I need to legally be a man. So we're going to go and see if I can get my government ID changed to male. Hi. I'd like to get my Ontario ID card.
Sure. What documents do you have?
I brought passport.
You never had a Ontario...
No, I just moved here a month ago. I've got my old BC license.
Then your middle name is...
Sherry. Cherie.
$35
Good.
for this one?
Sure. One more thing. For purposes of this identification, I would like to be identified as male. I brought in all of the proper documents.
Huh. I'm glad you told me. One moment, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a question for you. So I have a comment to you that for applying for the profile, after the Ontario profile. Oh wow. The client requested to put a instead of female identifier as male. So I have a letter from the doctor like information for that. Can I accept it? Sure. Here, I just want to show it to you. So this is your photo card number.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so as of today, I now have a doctor's confirmation that I should be identified as a male and legal confirmation that I am indeed a dude.
And now I think anybody can go to the doctor and spend $50 and half an hour to just talk some gibberish and then go and spend another half hour and $50 in the government agency to get themselves an identification card. Anybody's capable of doing that. It takes, about an hour and about $100. But if you look what's actually happening and listen to what these people are saying, they don't even need to have their gender identity legally recognised. As demonstrated here in this Times article, which talks about a story of the under-18 girls swimming team with girls as young as 7 being in the change room with a bearded male present, and the staff saying, look, we can't do anything, our hands are tied, we can't ask for any form of identification or ask any questions at all. We just have to let whoever wants to go in the females' change rooms can go in there. There's nothing that can be done about any of them. And this is the state law in most of the US states. I'm not exactly sure what the law is here in Australia, as every time I've asked, all I get given is that you can't discriminate on the basis of gender identity, and then any further questions are just asked with, take it to your lawyer, mate, take it to your lawyer. So I don't know what the laws are, but these are the logical implications of one's gender identity determines their gender, period. But I have given QLife, which is the national government-funded queer organisation hotline, a phone call to ask what they've got to say about this, and I've thought of the most ridiculous example I could possibly give, and this is it.
I have a question about my trans rights.
Okay.
I'm wondering, do I have a trans right to go into the females' change room after I've been swimming?
After you've been swimming?
Yeah, because, I'm actually born a male with a penis, but I go swimming and then sometimes I want to go into the females' change room.
Oh, okay. Do you identify as female, Chris?
Well, normally I identify as a man, and I have a bit of a beard and I wear male's clothing and such, but have you heard of aquagender?
I haven't heard of aquagender. Can you tell me more about that?
Aquagender is it's a type of gender fluidity when it's related to the water. When the fluidity of the water reminds some people of the fluidity of gender, and that's what I have. So normally I identify as a man, but sometimes after I go swimming, the water makes me feel like a woman, so then I identify as a female.
Ah, okay.
And this is what they have to say in response to that.
Do you think that I should be allowed to use the females' change rooms when I identify as a woman or not?
I've already said that, yes. When you're identifying as a woman, yes.
So even a bearded man with male swimming trunks who only identifies as a female after he's been swimming due to a aquagender is still allowed to use a secluded space where women and little girls are fully naked, where he can fully expose himself. That's what these people are saying. And now it's reaching a point where it is illegal to oppose any of this stuff. I have been hassled by the police 3 times for peacefully sitting out in public just trying to discuss it with people after one creep has called them up and complained about nothing at all. The police have rocked up, I've asked them what I've done wrong, and they've been about as aggressive as you could possibly imagine and told me to move on. This 3rd time I've said I'm not going anywhere, and I've been arrested, and now I've actually got caught. I don't know what I'm going to be charged with, but I'm going to court for speaking out against this stuff. And here's an example of a woman in Norway who could be doing 3 years in prison for saying on Twitter that men can't be lesbians.
A self-described feminist in Norway called Christina Ellingsen is facing a 3-year sentence in prison. She's facing the possibility of going to jail for years because she affirmed the reality of biological sex. Specifically, Ellingsen tweeted that men cannot be lesbians.
She's sick of men rocking up at her lesbian groups, because she is a lesbian and they are lesbian groups, and she's simply come out and said that men can't be lesbians. We're lesbians. We're not sexually attracted to men. We don't want men in our lesbian groups. We don't want you demanding that we have to be sexually attracted to men. Men can't be lesbians. And now she could be doing 3 years in prison for that. And what are the prisons going to look like if this stuff isn't stopped?
She was described in court as a predator who was a danger to women and to children. The court heard how she used her transgender persona to put herself in contact with vulnerable women. She'd ended up in the female Newhall prison at Wakefield on remand after a number of sexual offences, including rape. She'd also stabbed an elderly male neighbour. It was while she was in Newhall she sexually assaulted 2 inmates who'd she'd befriended. White had previous convictions for indecent assault, indecent exposure and gross indecency involving children, and violence and dishonesty too. Judge Christopher Batty told Karen White she was predatory, highly manipulative and a significant risk to children. Tonight, though, questions about how someone who'd raped women and who claimed to be transgender ended up in a female jail before undergoing any proper gender reassignment and was able to abuse fellow inmates.
Yep, that's right. They've sent a serial rapist, a paedophile, who stabbed his elderly neighbour, to the prison with females where he's continued his sexual abuse. And if this is fully implemented, every sex offender will be there. They'll all say, "Hey, I identify as a woman, officer. Send us to the females' jail." And the female prisons will basically they'll become torture chambers. A global society is being created where our rights mean nothing at all. Our privacy, our dignity, our safety, our right to consent, prisoners' rights, a right to a fair trial, free speech, none of our rights will mean anything at all if this continues. The powers that be are creating a world where we are set up to be sexually abused, to be raped, the kids even. They are creating one big global torture chamber, and that's what's going to happen in not too distant future unless we all stand up and stop this. So get off your ass and do something. Fight the power. Death to the transvestite paedophile movement. Peace.